Right, so this white is in decent shape. It's got a lot of surface rust and corrosion on it, but because I don't actually know what any of these parts are made of, I'm not going to try the rust remover soak that I had out for the one, or for the Singer 15. So, but I'm going to start with oh, there we go. Popping our bobbin out. It's got a side load bobbin case and bobbin case has a little bit of dirt right here, but is otherwise looking good, so should be a, I'll just get that spare thread out of there, so that's good. It does turn. Gonna actually remove the needle because it's got the straight stitch foot on it. That needle seems to be straight, so that's a plus. I don't know if you can hear that. It doesn't sound great right now as I turn it, but I'm gonna guess it just needs a little bit. I am curious about this width lock lever and what's up with that, but right now we're just gonna give it a quick clean in oil. So it's got it's another E17 fat base bulb. I think that bulb is good, but we'll replace it with an LED when we get to that part. I'm going to drop this straight stitch foot off of here. That looks like that's covered in waxy old oil, so tensioner here. Well, first we need to get the top off. So the buttonhole knob has a set screw in it right here. And back that out, and that popped right off, so that's good. It's a metal knob with a plastic insert on top, and that's gonna have to give this machine a good washing. It's got a lot of residue all over it, but now that the buttonhole knob is off, we can loosen the two screws on the top. This is a machine that I haven't seen one of these in a while, but when I worked at a thrift store, we used to see a lot of them, or we'd get them in often enough. From what I know, that this is one of the you know, generic early Japanese manufactured machines, and you could Obviously they would make them for white brand, but also a lot of them were just sold in the US under very generic names like Deluxe and stuff like that. So okay, there's two different stud lengths here, so we have to keep that separate, and these are drilled to be oiling locations as well, so gonna need to wash those up and remember that they go different ways, and you can see from under the screw that there's residue collecting around the screw holes and all this dust on the back, so definitely gonna have to scrub this up a bit. But you know, tip this down and see in the top here. Still don't readily see why this lock button isn't turning, but we'll see. Now it's just by tilting it, there's not enough spring action to pop the width back, so let's start putting some oil in. And I'm gonna brush all the dust and grime around a bit. But those two oiling spots on top go into these screws for the main bearings, but there's also under that cover an oiling location here, and this is the buttonholing cam, so you got to be able to oil that, and you got to be able to oil the lock and slide here. So these machines, you would have the regular oiling that's accessible without the cover removed, and then you would have to pop the cover off once in a while to do more oiling. Let's see now. The lighting is not great here, but under here is where there's an oil hole for the main cam arm drive that goes from the upper shaft here down below. So and then you can see this hole and that oil hole let oil get worked down into a pair of gears down below them, and neither of these oil locations are accessible with the cover on. So right under there is actually a series of balls, because there's a ball bearing under this linkage. So these machines are really well made. They just sometimes the oiling locations are not readily accessible. So now we've got a bit of oil in there. Check the... Yep, the clutch clamp works. And you'll notice when I had the clutch loose and the mechanism isn't running, the noise is still there. So it's something in the motor is probably making that grindy noise. Hopefully it's just some brush noise. And that knob. This knob still doesn't turn, but I found the set screw on the side of it, so I'm going to just remove this. Oh, it's got 2 screws. There's a second screw up under here. Hoping not to have to pull those all the way out, but apparently pulling them out, yeah, it's still not. There we go. Okay, so yeah, that knob, or this is really cranked. Somebody really cranked on this, and this is seized up real good for that lock. So I guess we will have to get in there and see what's up with that lock, or we'll have to get some more oil in it. But somebody cranked on that knob hard enough that it came off the lock spot, so looking down in here, it looks like it's just on a threaded screw and put a dab of oil on that shaft and let it set while we look at some other things. The tire is very shot on this machine for the bobbin winder, but it's got one of the very standard push down automatic bobbin winders. So, oh yeah, this tire is rock hard, so I'm gonna have to replace that when we get to it. But yeah, like, you can see how much dust is on this machine just by dusting the hand wheel there. All right, I'm gonna lay this on its back now, and dust underneath. So because cabinet machines lay on their back, when they're folded down in the cabinet, they actually get a lot of dust up underneath them, simply because they're laying on their back like this, and the dust in the air can settle like this. So while we got this tipped back, pop our hook race cover out. And it's dirty but in good shape, so we'll be able to brush that off and give it a little oil. The hook is in good shape, sturdy, well made. Yeah. So if you see a machine that looks like this, and you know, whatever brand it is, again, the issue is that they sold these to so many people that it just became hard for people to find parts and cross-reference. So it's not that they're bad machines, it's just that it's hard to get cross-references for the parts that are available, and so fixing them, if you come up with one, is a lot about test fitting parts or finding somebody who has done a lot of work on them and knows what's around. So and because this is a horizontal, or because this is a side load bobbin, it has to move the bobbin case, hook race and everything left to right with the needle for zigzag. That's why when I'm pulling the width knob, this whole lower assembly is moving. So like this doesn't need much lubrication, but you still have to make sure that, you know, every once in a while you're checking in on it to make sure that it's got a teeny tiny bit of oil on everything down here, because there's so many moving parts to get this whole mechanism to shift left and right for the zigzag. So and then let's look at the motor here, because that motor was making noise. So we'll have to get the hand wheel off to replace the tire on the bobbin winder anyway, so we'll just hand wheel, lock, clutch washer. All right, there's a belt in there. That definitely has to come off. for the hand wheel to pop off. I need a longer. There we go. Oh, there's a fourth screw here. Okay. Four screws to remove this motor cover and belt guard. So you can see it's just a very standard motor setup in here. And that is incredibly tight, so I'm gonna have to go get, oh wait, I do have this here. There we go. There. Loosen that up, and then this belt pops off, and the belt's in good shape, no cracks or fraying on it, and the edges aren't worn. So there's a little counterweight hiding behind the hand wheel. Oh my gosh, this tire is so hard. Well, there we go, it shattered. So that tire was completely shot. But alright, I don't know if you can hear that. Yep, as I turn that motor is not making nice noises, so I will probably, let's see how far this comes out. If this motor will just come out so I can get a look at it real quick here. A lot of these don't have any like easily serviceable parts, so if this motor is operational, I won't have much. No. There's not enough cord loose to pull that out. Alright. I'm going to set that back in place, and then we'll have to get the cable loose on it so that I can draw it out and see if there's a quick fix I can do on that. It's not bad, it's just, you know, gonna be noisy, and since I'm here, I can quiet it down before I pass it on. So, all right. This is a good spot to take a break. Yeah, that tire completely rotted, but I've got more of those. Gonna let the oil soak in on the width lock lever and see if it just starts to free up, because it looks like it's just a pinch mechanism with a thread on it, so a little bit of a thread to pinch, and so if that got seized up for some reason, and then they cranked on it too hard without freeing it up, that would explain a lot. But otherwise, this is, you know, pretty solid machine. Unfortunately, like I said, the reason you don't see a lot of these is because they're so generic and they got sold under so many names that it's almost impossible to figure out what parts are available for them and which ones will fit on which exact machine. But otherwise, they're very solid and really good machines to use usually.